It is opening day in the MLB, which means it is time back again. It is investment season here at MLB The Show 22. In this video, this is going to be our appetizer, so to speak, for roster updates this year. Now, I'm going to talk about what we can do to go through and break down and understand how, why, when, and where cards can and will get upgraded here. And it will be The Show 22. This is our roster update masterclass, so to speak. I'm going to talk about everything I look for, cards that can and can't get upgraded, and some of the finer, minute details of roster updates here in MLB 22, so that you could be prepared to find the best cards for roster updates. With some of the changes to the quick sell values this year, it's definitely going to adjust how we make these roster updates. No longer is it going to be all in on a 79 for him to go gold or all in on an 84 for them to go diamond. It's going to shift things a little bit, but we're going to get rewarded much more if we're able to hit on some long-term, big-time roster updates. In past years, if you invested in an 80 last year for 1,000 subs a piece, you would quick sell them for 5,000 subs a piece for a 5 times your roster update investment. However, this year, if you're able to get quick sell golds at 80 for 400 stubs, they get up to diamond. All of a sudden, that's a 3,000. It's a 7.5 times return over the 5 times return we would have previously. So roster updates still going to be a lot of stubs to make. We just have to shift our focus a little bit, shift our approach a little bit. Let's go in and break down, talk about some of the details of roster updates and who are the card types we look at to get upgraded. Here we are on the market page. Of course, how do roster updates work? If you're new to MLB The Show, as players perform in real life, they will get upgraded and downgraded based off of their performance. Look at that Kevin Gausman right here. Let's say he comes out the gate. He's an 84 overall gold. He comes out the gate and he is striking out batters left and right, and he's not giving up any home runs at all. His Ks per 9 and home runs per 9 are going to get an attribute boost, and that will change his overall. How do we make stubs based off this? Right now, Kevin Gausman is 1,695 subs on the sell now, 1,700 on the sell now. I can buy Kevin Gausman's for 1,700 stubs. If he were to get a +1 overall boost and become an 85 overall diamond, I could then quick sell that card now for 3,000 stubs. And all of a sudden, we are just about doubling our investment. I buy a ton of the. If I spent 17,000 subs buying Kevin Gausman at 1,700 and I had 10 of them, I would then quick sell those for 30,000 subs when he went diamond and make that 23,000 profit on 17,000 investment. So that is basically the general sense of what we're going to be doing. Is we want to find guys that are going to get upgraded so that we can then quick sell them for more. Now, in terms of identifying players who can be upgraded, there's a couple different things we need to look at. We'll look at a picture here first. All that matters is their per 9, hits per 9, Ks per 9, walks per 9, homers per 9. That is the only real thing that matters. Of course, some adjustments will happen roster update wise. They may up the control, the clutch, things like that. But we can't really predict that, so to speak. What we can predict is our hits per 9, Ks per 9, walks per 9. It does not matter if Kevin Gausman has a 1 ERA through his first 5 starts of the year. If he's giving up hits, striking out people, walking people, all at similar rates to what his numbers are over the last 3 years or so, he's not going to really have a chance to get upgraded. So we have to look at each attribute as its own stat category versus the overall body of work. Now, of course, these stats right here, these are based off of a 3-year average window where the previous year is weighted more than the year before that, weighted more than the year before that. I don't know the exact breakdown, but I think it's something like 2021 for these cards would be rated at 50%. The 2020 season would be weighted at 30%. And then our final 20% would be from that 2019 season still. So that is kind of our base canvas to start with. But as the year goes on and more weight is going to be put on the current season. So again, Kevin Gausman is insane this year. He's likely to get an upgrade, but he has to have that room to be upgraded, whether it's hits per 9, Ks per 9, walks per 9, or home runs per 9. It's not always about the base body of work of who's performing the best. I'll bring up a good example right here. One of my favorite examples, Jesse Winker here. Let's talk about room to upgrade. That is a couple things we want to talk about here. One, Jesse Winker, absolutely insane versus righties, cannot hit lefties on his card to save his life. A lot of people last year were investing in Jesse Winker to get an upgrade last year on the Reds. And you look at his attributes, he hit 305. He had a 394 on base percentage, a 148 WRC plus. My man absolutely crushed the ball. How did he not go diamond? Couple things to know here. He's only an 81 overall, so he has quite a bit of ways to go to be a diamond. I think he got to an 82, maybe an 83 last year. But we have to look at it past that surface level. So we come in here, we break down his splits. He may have hit over 300 overall, He hit 346 versus righties with 21 home runs versus righties. Absolutely destroyed the ball. That is pretty well showcased with 100 contact versus righties and an 85 power versus righties. You see that pretty well. On the flip side of things, he hit 176 with 3 home runs versus lefties. Honestly, based off those numbers right there, his contact and power versus lefties might be even slightly overrated on this card type. So while Jesse Winker played really well overall, he could not hit lefties last year. And we look at this card, his attributes: 100 contact right, 85 power right. For a live series card, that is up there. There's not a whole lot of room to grow. There's not much room to grow at all. And how he's performed versus lefties, he's not going to get any adjustment there versus lefties. His defense is also really bad as well. That is bringing him down. And for that reason, we have an 81 overall Jesse Winker that doesn't really have a whole lot of diamond potential as of last year. One thing that doesn't really get addressed during these roster updates is defensive attributes. So that's going to bring him down quite a bit. We'll take a look at a couple other examples of a defensive guy as well. That being said, though, this Jesse Winker card, you look at his contact and power versus left, there's a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of ways that can be improved, and that would significantly jump his overall up. So if all of a sudden he goes from hitting 176 versus lefties to 225, even 230, 240, if he's even close to league average versus lefties, all of a sudden he's in line to get a really big boost and possibly jump up his overall quite a bit. A good rule of thumb is that a 60 rating in any category is league average. So a 60 contact rating would be a league average hitter. The league average in MLB last year was 245, I believe. So that's a really good baseline and barometer for us to look at. Of course, we have to look at our power as well. I personally love using isolated power to break that down, as we can really see the true power numbers from what a player is doing. As we're going through this, I will say one resource that I love is Fangraphs. Fangraphs gives so much information. We can break down splits as well. And even more importantly than that, one thing I love to do as we get into the season, we really want to see who's hot and who's not. So I can go through and break down splits over a 30-day period. I can see, okay, over just the last previous days, how is this player performing? Is he hot right now? Does he have momentum going for him? Also, we can see isolated power on there, and we can see a lot of batted ball statistics too. If you're around last year, you know about the Ozzy Albies hype train. We got in on Ozzy Albies when he was an 84 overall gold and batting around 220. Everybody was saying he was having an awful season to start out the gate. He wasn't playing well, but when you uncovered those numbers just a little bit, he was having a career high exit velo, career high hard hit percentage, but a career low in batting average on balls in play. That is the epitome of, man, this guy's just getting unlucky. As soon as that luck turned around, he got hot for a couple week stretch. He made diamond. We cashed in on a lot of stuff. So Fangraphs is your friend. Definitely recommend exploring through Fangraphs. If you want some more information about it, be sure to hit up our live streams while the roster updates and the season gets going. We will definitely be breaking down and identifying trends and things on Fangraphs to help us make awesome roster update decisions. So continuing our conversation about room to grow, Joey Gallo, one of my favorite examples here. When it comes to roster update, we like a defensive floor. What I mean by a defensive floor is a player who has very high defensive attributes, because that is going to boost up their overall. Their overall is going to be raised up no matter what else they do offensively by a very strong defensive player. And again, defensive attributes not updated very often throughout the season. So we can pretty regularly assume that guy like Joey Gallo, he has 86 fielding, 92 arm, 81 accuracy, 91 reaction. That is going to hold his overall pretty high up. Obviously, his overall is brought down by his 37 contact right, 43 contact left. But what that presents us is room to grow. If Joey Gallo all of a sudden starts hitting closer to a league average, 220 to 30 range, and his contact versus right and left goes from a 37 and a 43 to a 50 to 60 range, that's a bona fide diamond right there with his power and with his defense as well. As he has the makeup, a very high overall player, he's just missing those contact numbers. Of course, he can come out and he can bat 180, 190, and he's not getting an upgrade at all, but it's something to just watch out for. These guys who have room to grow, we need to identify those. A player who does not have room to grow, for example, Cruz here, 79 overall. He does have 62 contact versus right, so probably some room to grow there, but 94 contact left, 99 power left, 92 power right. There are not realistic upgrades he can get as an offensive player in MLB The Show 22. Regardless of what he does this season, outside of his contact versus right, there are not many realistic upgrades he can get, and his 37 fielding brings down his overall so much. That is holding back. That's like a barrier. It's a wall that he's unable to break through for his overall, and that defense isn't going to be adjusted. They don't really adjust defense during the year again. So again, Nelson Cruz could be batting 330 and have 15-20 homers at the all-star break. I'm not going to get upgraded much. Maybe gets to an 80-81, but from an investment standpoint, especially this year, not a whole lot of value in that, just because his attributes already represent him really well as a player. He doesn't have room to be upgraded. Back onto the pitcher side, player who does have room to be upgraded, Sandy Alcantara. 80 overall. Has some decent pitching attributes right now, but for a guy who had a 10 strikeouts per 9 over the second half of the 2021 season, a 58 Ks per 9 is absolutely disrespectful, especially a guy like Sandy, a little bit younger. Not as much track record, only just now entering his third full season. He's more likely to be more quickly represented by his attributes this season. Again, you have a long-term veteran who we know the type of player they are. They've been around the league for a while. A hot start, a hot month. Maybe not going to have some crazy roster update changes to that card. But a guy like Sandy Alcantara, who has pitched well over his first 2 seasons of the league, is entering just his third full season in the league. He comes out hot. We are then now understanding, okay, this is really the type of pitcher he is. He is a 10 Ks per 9 type of guy. He deserves that strikeouts per 9 upgrade. He gets that boost. Maybe he walks a little bit less as well. All of a sudden, he's getting a +2 here, a +3 there, another +1 or 2. And he's an 86, 87 overall diamond before we even know it, which is another point. Young guys, we do like young guys, a little bit less track record. We're learning what those players are as they play throughout the 2022 season. So that leads to them being solid roster update investments, as it's not necessarily a reactionary roster update, but there's a little bit more aggressiveness with those young players as we're just learning who they are. Great example of that, Bobby Witt Jr. He actually has a pretty solid defensive floor on him. Silver defense, 73 fielding. He has absolutely abysmal hitting stats, 52, 56, 45, 49. If Bobby Witt Jr. comes out the gate and he's hot for a month-long, couple-week-long stretch, he is going to get some significant hitting attribute upgrades versus if we have a veteran, let's say Hanser Alberto. I don't even know if he's on a team this year. First name that came to my mind of a solid defender, not a great hitter. Hanser Alberto has a crazy month. He's not going to get much of a change. Bobby Witt Jr. has a crazy month. He is going to get a change. A hyped prospect, a young guy, not a track record of being a major leaguer, so we don't have any stats to base it off of. As he accumulates stats this year, that will then more accurately represent his card. So I would expect him to get some massive offensive upgrades very quickly this year, because Bobby Witt Jr., I think, is going to be an incredible major leaguer. One last point I want to reiterate and just show another example are splits. We want to look at splits. It does not matter if someone's batting 350. Doesn't matter if someone's batting 400. We want to look at their splits to see how they're performing within a certain level. Mike Zunino, great hitter last year, could not hit righties. Hit 151 versus right-handed pitching last year, but he did have 17 home runs. Hey, he gets the 90 power for that. Now, I will say he did bat 342 versus lefties with another 16 home runs. He should get an upgrade from that 62 contact versus left. But again, without hitting righties better, that contact versus right is never going to upgrade. So he could come out and be crushing the ball again this year and get that upgrade in contact versus left, but he never gets an upgrade in contact versus right. He's not going to go up in overall too much. So we have to look past the surface level stats and really see how a player is performing within certain splits. We want to see how they're hitting power wise within versus lefties and righties, and we want to see their contact versus lefties and righties as well. That is what matters at the end of the day versus their overarching attributes. Same with pitchers. ERA, irrelevant. You can be an incredible pitcher with ERA if your per nines are not there, deserving of an upgrade. Not going to tell you too much. Now, of course, an ERA and average and things like that can give you an idea of maybe who to look into more, but they're not going to be an end-all, be-all for us. So that is my approach to roster updates. We're going to use fan graphs a ton, and as the year gets on, we're really going to be looking at the last 30 days. We can go through and we can filter on fan graphs, and I can look at hitting leaders, and I can sort by average, I can sort by WAR, I can sort by ISO, I can sort by WRC plus, and I can see, hey, who's the best hitter over the last 30 days? Maybe they're an upgrade candidate. Obviously, out the gate, we're not going to break it down by the last 30 days. We're just going to see this first month to 2 month who's playing the best out the gate, but we're going to be keeping our eyes on those box scores, keeping our eyes on the batting leaders on fan graphs to see who is performing really well out the gate. Same with the pitching side of things as well. It's the exact same process there. We also want to look at guys who are maybe getting a little bit unlucky to turn some of those things around. Of course, we're going to have roster update videos throughout the entire year as well. 1 to 2 roster update videos per update as we break down players. I love making roster update videos. I love going through breaking down the stats. I really want to go even deeper dive into the stats this year than we have in the past. Bigger, better, badder roster update videos coming your way. So expect that happening. This is just our little appetizer, set the table for everything. And if you're a new player, really help you kind of understand how the roster updates work. If you have any questions on them, hit me up down in the comment section below. I hope this video was helpful in understanding roster updates. As roster update season comes around, I will say if you want early access to our roster update videos, I will say when I pump out roster update videos, a lot of those cards can see some drastic upticks in the market. If you would like early access to our roster update videos, consider becoming a member here on the channel. If you're a Stub Squad, a level 2 or higher, you do get early access to videos. And if you're Stub Squad level 1, you do get access to our Discord room where we're talking roster updates all year long as well. You can find that just by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button on this video. As always, you enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit me up with any questions you have in the comment section below. It's roster update season is right around the corner. I'm so hyped. I hope you're excited for it as well. Until next time, I'll catch y'all around.